Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Greetings, everyone. So glad you could join us on this, our second 1950s Fun Chat reunion panel. And do we have a great subject we're covering today? It's called grandparenting. And the first National Grandparents' Day in the USA was established by President Jimmy Carter in 1978, a long time ago, 48 years ago, and officially celebrated on September 6th, 1979. Now, Congress designated the first Sunday after Labor Day as this national holiday. On the dawn of this year's National Grandparents' Day, which is this coming Sunday, September 11th, we meet three 1950s Fun Chat alumni who exemplify the role of grandparent. And as each guest chats with us, you will note the role of grandparent is not cookie cutter, certainly in its kind. Personal situations are very influential in reflecting and defining it. Now, let's meet our alumni guests.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And it is with great pleasure that we introduce Grandparents' Day reunion guests to you. Keith Johnson from Sharon, North Dakota, Sue Hall Johnson from Fargo, North Dakota, and Ed Bryan from Deer Park, Washington. So Keith, Sue, and Ed, we welcome your return to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Yes.
Thank you. I hope it's fun.
It's never not fun, Keith.
So each of you will be asked the same questions, but you'll give your response by taking turns. So as with any chat, we'll insert other questions as the time progresses. So let's begin. And Sue, we'll start with ladies first. When you think of the term grandparent, what is the first word that comes to mind? And expand on that, please.
Hey, I thought about this for a while and realizing that we're talking about the term grandparent in general. And so my word is ancestry. Whether we know our grandparents or not while we're growing up, it's so important to know the ancestry that comes to us through our grandparents. And their stories are our stories, and we learn about ourselves through them and their stories. So I hope everyone has a chance to hear the stories of their grandparents, although not all are so lucky. I was lucky to know where my grandparents came from, and so I feel that heritage.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, Keith, what does the term grandparent?
Well, I guess when I think back, I'll use our family situation. We've had a couple of divorces in our immediate family, and we lost our son 3 years ago. And I would say the word would be stability. That I feel that grandparents are the stable part of all of their lives. As they grow up in that, we've tried to help them through their stresses and that from all these things. We have split families now where 1 week they spend with mother, 1 week with dad. But when they come back to grandma and grandpa's, it's always the same. And they're all local. So I guess I would use stability.
Okay. Ed, how about you? What the term grandparent, what does that mean when you think of that?
Well, these folks had ancestry and stability. That's very true. But
Yes.
Love. We lived on a lake, and our grandchildren were there all the time. And now they have moved to various parts of the world, and they still keep in touch with us through Facebook and through FaceTime and all that kind of stuff. And and stability is what I think we bring. We had a divorce, but that's all. But they feel very comfortable around us. So comfort, stability, and ancestry, I think, are great words for grandparents.
Yes.
This is starting off just awesome. love it. Thank you.
Well, it'll continue because, so what are a few characteristics of your grandparents, Keith?
Characteristics, I would say my dad's family, I don't remember much my grandfathers. One of my grandfathers I never knew. He passed before I was even born. The other one, I was just 8 years old. But my grandmothers, one side of the family was stoic Norwegian, and that the other side, my mom's side, she had 10 brothers, 3 sisters, a lot of cousins. And that side of the family I remember as being, well, we get together a lot and spend Christmases together. So I would guess, that would be the 2 characteristics of both sides of my family. That's the way we were brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, you said stoic Norwegian. Would you associate the getting together with holidays and being associating more with the other side as coming from a different culture group?
Well, I would guess so. I remember that grandmother as being, her name was Gina, and she was, she was a lot. My dad got his characteristics from her, and like I say, my dad, he was very kind of stern, stoic, if I might use that term, but yet again, like Ed said, I mean, they were loving grandparents. And it came through as grandparents. They were very loving to their grandchildren, and they had a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Sue, it's your turn.
Well, like Keith said, they're all different from each other, all the grandparents. And like him, 2 of my grandparents died before I was born, so I didn't know them all, but I had step-grandparents in the mix too. And all of them, luckily for me, were kind and patient and hardworking.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all. What admirable trait from a grandparent have you emulated to your grandchildren? Let's start with you, Sue.
I had one grandparent who was particularly involved with me and my life. I never lived near my grandparents when I was growing up, and there were some years where I didn't see my grandparents for several years because we lived half a world away. But I had a step grandmother who was with me all my life, who was the most supportive person that I ever had in my lifetime. She loved me like crazy and was always there for me and somebody I could turn to. So she was, her trait was to be supportive and loving.
Okay. Ed, what admirable trait from a grandparent do you emulate with your grandchildren?
Like everybody else, my dad's dad was killed in a car wreck right when he was a baby, so I never knew him. But his mother, Charlotte, he was the youngest of 10 kids, and she went to work in a hospital in Gooding, Idaho, and worked as a cook there, raising these 10 kids after he was killed. And so I think I probably learned a work ethic from her. We moved from southern Idaho to Washington when I was in the 1st grade, so she would come to visit us, and we would go down and visit her. But so I didn't know her as well as my grandfather on my mother's side, who lived with us. I don't remember him never not living with us. When we moved to Washington from Idaho, he moved with us and was basically our hired man on farm, and so he lived with us our whole life, and he worked on the farm, and so I learned from him patience and kindness, and he was just a very nice man.
As having a grandparent live in the home with you, did you think that was a very unique situation, perhaps in comparison to what other families might have had?
You're asking me that question?
Yeah.
I never thought about it. That's the way it was. I never thought about whether other people had their grandparent living with or not. He was just part of the family.
Okay.
And I remember with we called him Gramps, and everybody in the neighborhood called him Gramps. I mean, he was just Gramps.
Yes, yes.
And Gramps would, we would play cards. We would play Rook. I don't know if anybody ever heard of the game Rook, but it was a little card game that had a blackbird on the back of the cards. I don't even have a clue how that was played, but I remember him playing Rook with me. And whenever my mom and dad were gone and we were alone, he would he'd have to cook, and he would make us milk toast, and that was the big deal, to have milk toast with my grandfather.
Sure, sure.
Keith, what do you think about this? What can you add? What are you emulating?
Well, I have to be in complete agreement with the other two. Yes. The one thing I think about probably most that's a valuable attribute that my grandkids got, it's about friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad he had a lot of friends. He passed away in 1968, but Little Country Church, there was over 500 people at his funeral. And it's the same thing. I mean, my grandkids, they have a lot of friends, too many sometimes when they come to stay, but I think it's a very admirable thing to be surrounded by a lot of friends and to be kind. And our grandkids we've been fortunate. They've gotten a lot of awards in school for, things that they've been kind to others. They send those little things home, and they're always proud to show Grandma and Grandpa that they got a little piece of paper that said they were kind to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a tremendous attribute for grandkids. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
So this next question, do you have a favorite story about one of your grandparents? And if so, would you like to share it? Ed, please start.
My grandmother, Charlotte, liked to knit.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see she was just a small lady. She was, I have a daughter, Shelley, that is not quite 5 feet tall, and she was like Shelley. Charlotte was her name.
Yeah.
And she would sit in a chair and knit, and she would sit there with her knitting needles, and each time she would make a stitch, she would click her teeth. She'd go all day long, and you would hear the clicking. And it wasn't the needles, it was her. And then we'd have to hold her hands up like this, and so she could wrap the yarn around our hands.
Sure.
And,
Isn't that
was Grandma.
that little sound is still in your mind?
Yes.
So, do you have a story that you might share?
Yes, the one that sticks in my mind, especially, is my mother's father, my grandfather, who I knew over the years, but like I say, in living so far away, I did not have a whole lot of interaction with him, except for his whisker rubs and hugs when he came to visit, or when I came to visit him. So it was very important to me to know about his background and what he was like as a child. He had developed dementia by the time I was old enough to be living anywhere near him. So the opportunity to find out anything about his life at that point was gone. But I had found from other members of the family his background, and I have a son who is now very much into ancestry and looking into the family background, and he has filled in a lot of blank places for me and for the rest of the family. So that's been a real blessing. But my grandpa came to this country as an immigrant from Norway when he was 8 years old. And that has just always stuck with me, thinking about what life must have been like for him. He came with his mother and his brother and his sister. And I don't know exactly what the circumstances were, but for his mother to come alone with 3 children, she must have been tremendously brave, for one thing.
Yeah.
And my grandpa came along as the youngest member of the family, and they settled in the Red River Valley, which is near where I live, near Fargo, and grew up here and became a man here, and got married here to my grandmother, whose family was also from Norway. And so that's just a story that's very important to me about my heritage, which I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Know that.
Sue, do you know why they settled in the Red River Valley, and why in the Fargo area? Were there family or friends, or just they ran out of money, or how might it have been?
You know, I don't know that about my grandfather's family. My grandmother, the one that he married, um, I could tell you that story back generations when my great grandparents came here and came by covered wagon to this part of the country. But that gets into another
Oh,
territory that we're not talking about today. So
yeah.
I can't tell you why they came. I wish I knew all of that. And that's kind of a plea for everybody out there to talk to your grandparents when you can,
Yes.
and get that information so that you know their stories and where they came from, and therefore where you came from.
Right.
Well, we are hopeful that in recording these 1950s fun chats and then giving the links to these chats to our guests, that your generations after you will be able to at least know a little bit about your histories.
Yep.
Mhm.
Keith, your turn.
Well, if I may, I'll tell a story, but the one that's most vivid in my mind, my grandma on my mom's side, she had, like I said, 10 sons and 4 daughters. So there was a lot of grandkids there, and I didn't have an opportunity to be with her that much. But on my dad's side, the stoic grandmother Gina, okay, they milked 5 or 6 cows. I would go stay with them probably sometimes 2-3 days, sometimes a week in the summertime when things were busy. They'd drop me off there. And I remember on particular occasions when we would go to get the milk cows. And I think I told you before on other chats about that we had that farm, the tree claim, 13 acres.
Yes.
That's where the cows were kept in the summertime. So I would walk with her. I was less than 8 years old. I remember that, holding her hand, and we would walk out to find the cows in the tree claim. And when we got out there, all of a sudden she would discover berries. So there was June berries, there was gooseberries, and all this stuff. So she'd say, "Well, we have to pick some of them." So I would have to hold her apron out, and she would proceed to pick berries, and as many as she could fit into the thing, and I would hand it back to her, and she'd give it a twist, and she would carry the berries back that way in her apron. We would find cows, bring them home for milking, and after milking, she would cook up the berries, and I would help her make jam. And that was a very good memory I had. So,
Yeah.
The little perk of going to find the cows.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
So, Keith, answer this one, please. Do you recall receiving any correction or scolding or encouragement from any of your grandparents? And if so, describe, please.
And no, not a lot from my grandparents, but an awful lot from my dad.
No.
I think it was passed down, and it was it was given to that generation to straighten me out. But I was the perfect grandchild, of course. No, but not really. I mean, like I said, I mostly had interactions with grandmothers, and none that I can really think of. But like I said, it was passed on to the next generation. It took hold.
Keith, did you ever get a spanking or just a scolding?
Well, from my dad or grandparents? My dad.
Grandparents.
I regretted the fact that they went to out west and they stopped in Roosevelt Park, and he had a belt that had Roosevelt in high, the things on the back. And I think I just possibly may have a scar of a R on my butt someplace. No, there wasn't a lot of spanking. Don't get me wrong. I tell that anyway.
Ed, how about it? Was there any correction or encouragement from your grandparents?
I don't remember my grandparents ever correcting me. For one thing, like he said, that was passed on to the next generation. My parents didn't like other people disciplining us.
No.
And so, I mean, I remember one time my mom had a cousin that lived here near us, and the Cabarets. And Earl Cabaret, used to try to discipline him. I remember my dad almost in fisticuffs got with him Tell him that he did not mess with my kids.
Oh.
So anyway, but you were all from Norway. I immigrated. My grandparents immigrated from Kansas, and and I'm not sure why, but my grandmother was in a mental institution in Kansas. She got there when my mom was 6 years old, and my grandfather. I just heard this story not very long ago. My grandfather was going to move to Washington for some reason, or Idaho for some reason, I'm not sure. And he was going to leave my mom in Kansas with an aunt and an uncle. And she was 6 years old, and she threw such a big fit that he said, "Okay, fine, you can come with me." And so he brought her up to Idaho with him, 6 years old. And they didn't live with us. I mean, I'm a little vague on what the story is after that. The only story I have, your ancestors you're talking about coming from Norway. I'm related to Daniel Boone back in the day.
Wow. How fun is that? Did you have a cat? Oh, how far back does that go? How many generations?
Well, however, I don't know many. We're not. It's not direct Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone, his dad was Esquire Boone. They immigrated from England, and they were pretty snooty. They were a little uppity. And Daniel Boone had a sister named Sarah, and Sarah married the hired man, and she got booted out of the Boone family, and that is my ancestor, Sarah Boone.
Well, that's an
So
interesting.
Daniel was actually my uncle, not.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
But we're in the book. We're in the Daniel Boone book. Well, it's actually the Wilcoxon book, but it's Daniel Boone, and so are my kids in that book.
Sure. How fun.
Sue, do you have a story or about encouragement or scolding?
Well, I do. It sticks out in my mind because I really wasn't ever corrected or scolded by my grandparents that I can remember, and that's probably because I was never around them long enough to really get on their nerves. So
Yeah.
But one of the times that I was visiting from when we lived a very long ways away was in the summertime when I was 12 years old, and my grandparents were moving from one home to another in Fargo, and the home they were moving into was a small home, just a cute little place with a big picture window in the front. And instead of being helpful, my cousin near my same age and I were playing a game of anti-I-over.
Sure.
Do you know that game?
Yeah.
You know, where you throw a ball over a barrier and the other person catches it and you do a tag thing and everything. Anyway, we were playing, my cousin Clara and I were playing anti-I over this new little house of my grandparents. And I was standing in the backyard waiting for the ball to be returned from my cousin, and I heard this crash and the sound of breaking glass, and went running around the house, and here she had thrown it right into the picture window.
Oh no!
Destroyed the picture window on our grandparents' new house, and my grandmother, the one that was so supportive and loving, came running out of the house, and I think the both of us really heard from her.
Heard from her.
Mercy. Well, it was a surprise to everybody when that happened. Right.
Especially
That wasn't a soft ball, was it?
no.
Oh goodness.
I think
Maybe it was a flaw in the window. Anyway.
Ed or Keith, did you ever have an experience like that where you accidentally broke a window
Broke a window?
with a ball?
I can't say I remember anything. We played anti-over, though. I know exactly what Sue was talking about, but probably got told not to do it.
House. I couldn't throw the ball high enough to get it over the house.
I'm going to delve a little bit from that. What other games did you play as a youngster that were fun?
And who are you asking?
Oh, whoever wants to talk.
Well, we used to, my cousins, there again, like I said, the family, on my mom's side, we'd get 2 families that would come every Sunday to our farm because that's where the action was. We had horses and ponies, and we played up in the barn. And some of it got to be a little dangerous, swinging on a barn rope from a high stack of bales.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, somebody would swing right into a post. And there could have been a real bad deal. But anyway, those were some of the things we played with. And, of course, tag and hide and seek. So.
Yeah. Ed, how about you? What you
Speaking of swinging on ropes from the haymow, when my dad was a young lad, they were playing Tarzan in the barn, and they had I don't know if you know what a hay hook is, but it's a great big hook that you hooked into loose hay and pulled it up into the barn, and then they had a track that went down and tipped the hook and dropped the hay off. Anyway, the hay hook was hanging on the edge of the barn, and the rope hit the hay hook. He fell to the ground, and the hay hook cuff fell down and pinned him to the ground. Went through both of his legs.
Oh,
So I didn't do that, but he did.
yeah.
Number one, I was so allergic to hay that I couldn't be in the barn very much. But but we did. We played kick the can. We didn't have a lot of kids. There weren't a lot of kids around our neighborhood, and the ones that were there, they lived quite a ways away. And so it was just my sister and I, and she, I think I told you she tied me to the gas barrel and filled me full of BBs. But other than that, we would just run around and play. We played cowboys and Indians.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of rocks, kind of a little rock hill behind us, full of snakes. But we would play cowboys and Indians up there all the time.
Did any of you have a bicycle?
Yes, I had a bicycle.
Yeah.
Nope, never did.
Bicycle story?
Yes, I didn't. I didn't get my bicycle till 7 years. I was 7, and I think nowadays that's old to get a bicycle. But that was what it was. I had a Shetland pony, and anyone have Shetland ponies?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I've told you about.
Ed, were you going to say something more?
Oh, well, my bicycle story is I learned to ride a bicycle. I don't know how old I was, probably 7 or 8, in southern Idaho when we had gone down to visit my grandmother and their friends, and this daughter of the friends that we were visiting had a bicycle. And so I determined I am going to learn to ride this dang bicycle. So I did. I worked for 2 days learning to ride a bicycle, and I finally did. And I came home and I knew there was a bicycle in the dump up behind our house. And I thought, well, I can just go up and get that and I'll fix it and I can ride it. So I did. I got it, and it was a beat up old bicycle, but it didn't have any tires on it. It had wheels, but no tires. And I couldn't buy a tire. So I rode that bicycle around without tires for a long time. I mean, it was hard to ride. I can remember it was just hard to ride, but I was bound and determined to ride that bicycle.
Yeah.
And I can see we had a little flat place down in front of the barn, and I can see in my mind those tracks that I made riding that bicycle around and around and around.
Yeah. Without those tires, would that have affected the balance that you had to maintain?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I had decent balance back then, so.
So, Sue, do you have something to add?
When the guys were talking about cowboys and Indians, I could relate to that. And kick the can, Ed. Oh my gosh, we had a kick the can gang when I was a kid, and we had a special place where we would start the can from, and we'd meet every night in the summertime to play kick the can. It was all outdoor games that I remember playing when I was a kid.
Is kick, and we never played that, but is kick the can something you just do by yourself, or you have teams, or how did that work?
It's like hide and seek, only when you come out and you kick the can, you're safe.
Oh!
One person kicks the can, and the other kid, somebody else has to go run and get it, and the rest go and run and hide while they're doing that.
I didn't know that.
The can back to where it was, and somebody's it, and somebody gets tagged out, and
I thought maybe
you had to do is find the can.
Yeah. I thought
very complicated.
down the road.
Yeah. Okay.
How fun! Thank you.
So So we're going on to a different stage now, and we're going to talk about you and how did becoming a grandparent change your life, Ed?
Oh, well, I'm kind of like my dad. I said, okay, I don't have to discipline these kids. I can just have fun.
Uh-huh.
And so I did. And I can remember our two oldest grandchildren, Emily and Katie. They're like a year apart. One lives in Scotland now, and the other one lives in London. But anyway, they were standing on our front porch, and they were trying to decide what they were going to call us, Jan and me.
Oh, yes.
Whether to call us Grandma and Grandpa, Grampy, whatever they were going to call us. And I can remember, I was standing behind the door, and I could hear this discussion going on. And they decided, well, let's call them Mama and Papa. And that has stuck. We are now Mama and Papa.
Huh.
Ah,
All
And
right.
very endearing.
yes, it is.
Yes. Sue, how has grandparenting changed your life?
Becoming a grandparent changed our lives in ways we could never have imagined. And I'm not sure that we were ready for it. When you become a grandparent, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm a grandparent. But we had 3 sons, and our first grandchild was a girl. And oh my gosh, my husband was just Twitter-pated, and he also had a chance to babysit for our next 2 girls who came along, and just absolutely loved that. Not that we weren't crazy about our sons too, and very proud of them too, but to have these 3 little girls was so fun. And we had grandsons also, but we were a part of the sandwich generation. You hear about that. When our first grandchild was born, we were getting into the years where we were taking care of our parents. So we still had 2 sons that were out of college, I believe. Yeah, well, yeah, because one was the grandfather or the father of this grandchild, and one who was still in high school. And my husband and I were both still working full time and beginning care for our parents at different areas around the country. And life was very, very busy. So to fit in another person into our lives, we thought was going to be a real challenge, but it was just the greatest blessing that we ever had, I think. And even at times when our grandchildren had moved away, we thought our hearts were going to be broken when a couple of them moved a distance away for a while, but we made it work, and it just changed our lives in the best way possible.
Yeah, good. Keith, tell us about being a grandparent and how it changed your life.
Well, I think I told you gals before that I never went far in life. I live at the end of the driveway where I grew up. So we didn't have a choice, and I think, but it's the ultimate goal of our life now was to have grandkids. So I had 2 sons that took over the farming operation. They lived just down the driveway from where our house is now. And we had a hand in raising all of our grandkids, still do. They interact, they come up here, they stay overnight. Sometimes there's 4 grandsons or 2 granddaughters that want to stay overnight. And for us, that's kind of a change, I guess, but it's a good change. It's something that we look forward to, and we're glad we have that chance.
Okay.
So I gotta say, my oldest daughter just had a baby. No, my oldest daughter didn't just have a baby; just became a grandmother. Anyway, I'm watching her, and I'm thinking, wow. That's what happened to me.
I'm curious to know, is it you grandparent a granddaughter differently than you grandparent a grandson?
I don't know. I only had 1 grandson and 6 granddaughters. They're just different people. I don't know that you treat them different. I mean, my granddaughters tend to be more adventurous than my grandson is.
Yes, they're all different. How about Sue or Keith? Do you find that you grandparent differently depending on what sex that your grandchild is?
As they get older, I think we do because, like I say, we had a lot of the grandkids were down at the place and that, and the girls, they've kind of, as they grow older and that, we have one granddaughter that's in dance. In fact, she was just at the nationals and got platinum ratings, so she's dancing. But yet, when we're working cattle, she's learned to take over my son that passed away. She can run the chute, the hydraulic chute, and she catches cattle. She helps build syringes, and yet it's kind of weird that we can see her in her dance outfits, and she's a very, so I guess that's different. I haven't seen none of my sons in a dance outfit or dancing. So.
Do they line dance at all?
No,
Okay.
I personally never found that line. No.
My grandson Daniel used to tell us, well, so what you been doing today, Daniel? And my granddaughter, his sister Katie, was danced, and he would say, watching Katie.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you find, any of you find that as your grandchildren got older, and their lives got busier, that you stepped back grandparenting, or did you find that it was the same, or did they, as adolescents, that they required your presence more in their lives?
Sue, how about you?
Yeah.
The need for us wasn't as great as they were getting older. When they were young, we spent a lot of time with them. They would come and stay with us for weekends. We would take them on trips. We spent a lot of time when they were, from the time they were babies up through elementary school and into junior high probably, but by the time they got into high school and college, they didn't need us so much. But we kind of ramped it up. I learned that we couldn't just let things slide. We had to find ways to connect that they would enjoy, rather than it's Nana again, and so we did change the way that we interacted with them, but we have still tried to stay as connected as possible, just in different ways. And I can tell you something you were just talking about with the difference between boys and girls. Our grandsons, from the time they were 12 years old, could go along on Canadian fishing trips with my husband and our sons. And so that group of Johnson men has grown and grown over the years. The last time they went, there were 8 of them. And cool. They bonded very tightly over even the cousins that don't live near each other. And the girls we took on other trips with us. So we have tried to stay close to all of them through travel and time spent. We just had one of our adopted grandchildren with us at the lake for a week and enjoyed getting to really know him one-on-one because he's relatively new to our family, and we just try to make opportunities wherever they are.
Great, good. Okay.
I think their circumstances also change your reaction. They get a girlfriend, and all of a sudden she is much more important than you are, or a boyfriend, or their friends change, or they get married, and then all of a sudden you have this family to deal with too. So all of those things affect how your relationship with your grandchildren change over time.
Yes.
Right.
Your girlfriends are the biggest deal.
Keith laughed when Ed brought that up. Do you have something you can share with us?
Repeat about that. Anyway, like I'll use my my 7-year-old grandson for instance. I write a thing on Facebook, and he's been the subject of many of those posts. And from the time he was, I would say, a year and a half old, he would ride with me doing chores and all that. But as he got older, and they all went through this, they wanted to spend actually, and of course part of it is a split family because of divorce. Now he wants to spend most of his time with his dad, my son. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a, you kind of think I'm second fiddle here, but still when he comes to stay, he still wants to sleep in the bed with me and disturb my sleep. So hopefully we'll have those, the memories and that, from back then.
He will remember that. How sleep.
I hope he does.
Yes. How fun.
So we've heard we've heard answers to this in some ways. Anybody, before I go on, anyone else have anything to say? Okay. So, and we've heard some of this. In what ways do you build bonds with your grandchildren by how you interact with them? So we've heard travel, we've heard doing chores, let's spend time at the lake.
Fishing.
That. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sue, do you want to expand on that, or have you said what you want to say?
Well, I said quite a lot about that already, but I'll just say that the way we build bonds with our grandchildren depends a lot on the grandchild and their interests and
exactly
what they like to do, what we like to do, what we can find to do together. But I've always thought that it was very important to be a participating grandparent. I think there are two kinds of grandparents in the world, and they're both very good grandparents, but one kind is an observing grandparent and the other kind is a participating grandparent. And observing and both of them will go along to watch their kids play football or run track or be in a choir concert or go to the Grand March at prom or whatever. But observing grandparents are there all the time, but they kind of sit on the sidelines and watch. While participating grandparents are not only there, but they're, when the kids are little, they're down on the floor with them playing and reading books and running around in the backyard playing games. And I remember one of the things that I loved that I was able to do for a couple of my grandchildren was to teach them to water ski. And right in the lake with them and giving them pointers and holding them as the boat took off and all. I loved being a participating grandparent, and I still like to do that as much as I can. It gets harder and harder the older they get, but
right.
And I think you bring up a good subject as we age, and probably as the tribe grows with grandchildren. How and I'm jumping ship here from what perhaps Ed and Keith could participate in, but how does your health as a grandparent interact with your ability to grandparent perhaps how you might want to?
Well, I'm noted in our family for fixing everything. As a matter of fact, I have a cup that says if Papa can't do it, we're screwed.
Oh dear.
That they gave me. Anyway, I'm having issues with my back right now, which causes me a heartburn. But I don't know that I've changed helping because come September, end of September, I'm going to Bentonville for a couple of weeks to help my granddaughter get her house put together that she just bought. It needs a bunch of work done on it. And I said, well, I can come and do that. I'm a woodworker, and I've built the granddaughter that's getting married in a week or two, 17th, I think. Anyway, I made candle holders for them for her Unity candles, and she says, "Well, Papa, I don't have a table," so I made her a table. And my other granddaughter that lives in Bentonville, she likes to knit, and she has these bowls with this little thing cut out of them. And she says, I could really use some more of these. Well, I've made 4 of them to take with me when I go back there. So anyway, I continue to do it. Age hasn't stopped me.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I'm curious to know, does she click at every stitch that she gets?
No, she doesn't.
Any Sue or Keith, you have any thoughts on that? As health might change, how might that affect your ability to grandparent how you want to?
I think I'm fortunate. I guess I can still do probably not as what's the old song that I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
Okay.
My life is I have a lot of horses, stuff like that. I wished I had grandkids that had a passion like I do. Not there yet, but we're not lost. But we do a lot of things in that. And if I could elaborate on just one thing, a lot of our things, we had 6 boys in baseball, 2 granddaughters in softball. And as I sit there and watch that, I'm surrounded by people that were best friends of mine, classmates. Their parents are gone. I'm still there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to take a note of that and just realize how lucky you are that you can do those things because and sometimes we all got a little bit of aches and pains and things like that, but I'm very, very thankful for my health that I can do that with my grandkids.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah.
So let's get back. Oh,
Well, those days are coming for us. My husband and I both hit 80 this year, and so we can't do what we always did. I can't water ski anymore. So,
Yes.
there are other things though that I still feel that we can be actively participating in, but we know, we do not take our health for granted. We know that can change at any moment, and hopefully the kids are old enough that they will understand that when that happens.
mm-hmm.
Yes.
So let's go back to that question of in what ways you build bonds with your grandchildren. We've maybe covered a lot of this, but Ed, do you have anything more to add? In what ways? Bonds. Mm-hmm.
Be a participating grandparent.
There's that word.
As Sue said.
Yeah.
We were very participating.
Mm-hmm.
And our grandkids call us to this day. I mean, they FaceTime us all the time. And people, I mean, we have this great grandchild in Edinburgh, and we know him from. She calls us at least once a week, and maybe twice a week, and we watch him crawl around and do all this stuff, and it's just cool. Technology has made that a lot easier.
Yeah.
When my parents were grandparents to our kids, we were living in Missouri, and they would see them once or twice a year. And it was tough, but today you can see them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that builds bond, and just being there for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Keith, you've covered some of that about how you build bonds with your grandchildren, like the sleepovers. That's definitely that's a lot of energy. Do you have to take a rest after they leave?
Well, yeah, the bed is kind of a mess, but that ain't my department anyway. So
Okay.
he's a very restless sleeper, the 7-year-old. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm curious to know. I know this wasn't. Oh, Sue, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
I was just going to reiterate what Ed said, about technology and helping build bonds. We also have one great grandson, and he's 5 years old now, and he lives 600 miles away from us. So if it weren't for FaceTime, I know we would not have that close bond with him that we do, and we are so thankful for that. And he's just the start of a new generation, and so it's so thrilling to have him in our lives too.
Yes.
I am curious to know, I guess we heard from, I think, Ed, as far as how you got your name, your grandparenting name. And so sometimes it's not grandpa or grandma, sometimes it's Mimi or mama or Gram or Gramps or Pop, Pa or Mom. how did you get your name, your term of endearment from your grandchild, or did you just say, "This is what I want to be called"?
But I guess I'll address that.
Mhm.
I insist on being called Grandpa, and I don't know that that's too much of a push. I have a sister that she is known to her grandkids as Gogo, and that doesn't cut it
Yeah.
for me. So
No.
I think I write about that. It's Grandma and Grandpa.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Sue, how about you?
Well, when we started out as grandparents, our daughter-in-law chose the names for us, and it was Nana and Papa, and I loved that. And through being Nana, I didn't want to be called Grandma, and so that was comfortable. But then our second set of grandchildren came along with our other son, and this is kind of a cute story, I think. But our oldest grandchild in that family was a girl, and she was one of the ones that my husband babysat for, and so she was at our house quite a lot, and we called her. She's a redhead, and she looked like Punky Brewster, if you remember that show on TV. And so we called her Punky all the time, and as soon as she began to talk, she started calling me Punky right back. So for that family of kids, the youngest of whom is now 19, they still all call me Punky. We're Punky and Papa.
And what about your husband, Sue? What's your husband called?
He's Papa from
Punky and Papa, huh?
Yeah. So we're either Nana and Papa or Punky and Papa.
Well, I remember thinking that Grandpa and Grandma are great terms, and yet it seems like I'd be so old to be called Grandma. But like you, Sue, we have two grandchildren who call me Grandma, and two of them who call me Graham. And I think, hey, I'm fine with any of it, whatever they want to call me.
Mm-hmm. So how was your relation? And again, some of these we may have covered this. How was your relationship with your grandparents different from your relationships with your grandchildren? Ed.
My relationship with my grandparents compared to
your relationship with your grandparents different from your relationships with your grandchildren.
Okay, let's see. I got to think about it. Well, number one, it was a whole different family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to compare. I don't know how my grandfather would have. He didn't. I was only allowed to play one sport in high school because I had to get home and milk those dang cows.
Yeah.
And so I could play football, and my parents didn't always go to my football games. I don't remember my grandfather ever going to a football game. If my grandson was playing football, I was at that game.
Mm-hmm.
Or if my granddaughter was dancing, I was at that game. If my granddaughter was in a play, I was at that play. I mean, so I guess I was more participating than my grandfather was. My grandmother wasn't around, so she couldn't do any of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a whole different dynamic.
Yeah. Okay. Keith, what can you say about that?
Well, I think it's the same. I would say that I'm much, much closer to my grandkids than I was to my grandparents because there was, at that time, like even my grandmother on my mom's side was 30 miles away. We'd get together and that. On my dad's side, they didn't live that far away, but I didn't have the opportunities that my grandkids have living down just a driveway from us. Like I said, they've spent a lot of time. And like Ed says, if they're at a sport, I was not in sports myself, but if they're in doing something, we don't miss ball game. We don't miss anything. Yeah, in fact, we're known in the neighborhood as the people that are there at everything, and that's fine with me.
You bet.
Yeah. Sue, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I agree with both of the guys. I think our grandparents' generation just weren't as active at our age as we are at our age. And so it's easier for us to be an active part of our grandchildren's lives than it was for our grandparents to be an active part of our lives. Yeah. Like one of the guys said, none of my grandparents ever came to any play or a concert or sporting event that I ever had, but part of that was because I didn't live by them.
Sure.
So, although we have had many of our grandchildren live in Wisconsin. All of the step grands do, and two of our original grands do, and we've made it a point to go down for a lot of their different activities, when we can. But another thing that has made it easier for us to grandparent and be active part is technology. Like Keith said earlier, being able to use FaceTime and being able to be contacted in that way. And I had said earlier that I lived halfway around the world from my grandparents for 4 years when I was growing up, and there was no chance to call them on the telephone or see them on FaceTime or build those bonds in those years when we didn't see them. But now, like with our great grandson, that's a big part of how we have interacted. So yeah, it is much easier, I think, for us to grandparent and much more fun for us to grandparent than it probably was for our grandparents to grandparent us.
Yeah. And when you think about it, are you not younger grandparents than your grandparents were? You're all active. So
my grandparents passed, except my grandmothers. They've all lived to be over 90 years old. In fact, at our youngest son's baptism, we had four grandmothers. His four grandmothers were here that were all over 90 years old.
Well, I guess what I was
we're younger than them, but not
you seem to be more physically able than they might have been. Or is that not true?
So yeah. Would you allow me to elaborate a little bit on the technology?
The physics,
I don't know if you, Ed, or you, Sue, have your grandkids on Life 360, it's called. Yeah. So our grandkids have allowed us to be on that. So we keep track of them. We know exactly where they are any time of day. And of course, it's kind of unreal, but they can keep track of us. So at times, I've been texted by a grandkid when I'm speeding, and they text me as I'm driving and said, "You're speeding, Grandpa. Slow down. You told us not to speed." Okay, so
how cool is that?
Speaking of that, we also have a 360 for our grandkids and our family and so on. And at the beginning of COVID, our TV died. And so we got online and we bought a TV, and we're driving to pick up this TV. And I can't remember which grandkid it was that called. Says, "Where are you going? You're supposed to be staying home." Right? We said, "We're going to go get a TV." "Get a TV? You can't get a TV. You can't be out in the." We said, "We're not going anywhere. We're going to the warehouse. They're going to load in the back of my pickup, and then we're going to go. We're not going to see a person at all. We're just not going to touch anybody." I said, "We're going to bring it home, and we have some wipes. We're going to wipe down the box and everything." Anyway, they are keeping track of us.
Yes.
Well, Jackie, we are at the end of our time.
Are you sure? I've got one more question. Okay, quickly.
Okay.
How do you want your grandchildren to remember you? Keith?
I would like that. I think I have an opportunity. I've been writing on Facebook, Thoughts of a Rancher, I call it. I think you both have seen it. I've written probably over 500 of them. A lot of them are interactions with my grandkids. My daughter has said that she, as a Father's Day gift, she's going to try to get them all published. Hopefully they will put them in hand when I pass away. If they don't remember the times we had together, there will be a record of it.
Yes.
So,
Excellent.
Yeah. And Sue, how would you like to be remembered?
I just want to be remembered as a person that they could turn to in any kind of life situation, the joyful ones, the difficult ones, somebody who could support them and be there for them. And I want them to remember that I was fun to be around.
Okay. Ed?
I like that. I want them to remember that I was fun.
Yeah. You
Yep.
are a fun grandparent. I've seen that.
Good.
Thank you all so much. What a
Yes.
joy and what a heartfelt reunion this has been.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Our pleasure. Meeting you other two.
Yeah. So
I want to come and see your shuttle collection sometime, Keith.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we might mention to viewers that if you'll notice beside each guest's name that says Fun Chat number such and such. Well, if you'd like to learn more about each of these guests, just go to our YouTube channel, the 1950s Fun Chat, and click on and say number for Sue, number 61, or for Ed, who did two of them with us, 218 and 219, or for Keith, number 71 and 158. Then you'll really get to know the nuts and bolts.
The nuts and bolts that's in their head. All right.
Yeah.
We thank you all so much, our guests as well as our viewers. And you have one more thing to say? No. Okay. And friends and relatives, please do tell your friends and even your relatives about this 1950s Fun Chat.
Yep.
Till next time. Toodaloo.
Bye-bye.